Hello and welcome everybody to the new edition of the HbbTV webinar series. This is about a very special topic today. It's about the new HbbTV Developer Portal that has just been launched. You might have seen this, and the first people have started using it. It's a new community for the developers of software and applications, services, all using HbbTV. This is something where the thought to launch it came directly from the community. And we've got three experts for you today who were involved in setting this up. And we're very happy to have them in this webinar because they are really the experts on this HbbTV Developer Portal. If you haven't seen it yet, just type in your browser developer.hbbtv.org, and then you can take a look at it, or just go to the HbbTV main website, hbbtv.org, and there you'll see a banner in the window where you can directly click into the portal. We have a lot of interest, I was saying that already, and this is reflected by 125 people who have registered to watch this webinar live. So thank you for your great interest. We are live today, but don't worry if you haven't had time to watch it, or if you can't watch it or want to watch it again, there will be, as usual, a recording on YouTube for you, and we'll share the link 24 hours automatically by email after this live session. At the end, in the last 15 minutes, as usual, we have time to discuss your questions with the speakers. So please do use the Q&A function, the chat box, and submit your questions throughout the presentations, and we'll collect them at the end for you. The disclaimer first: the presentations represent the views of the presenter and the companies he represents, and not necessarily the views of the HbbTV Association. Let me introduce the speakers first. We have Angelo Pettazzi, Consultant Strategic Marketing at RTI-Mediaset, and also Chairman of the HbbTV Marketing and Education Working Group. And I'd like to welcome you. Hello to Milano.
Thank you. Thank you, Jörn.
We have David Uhlmann, Head of Video Solutions, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and at Google. Hello, David.
Hey. Hello to everyone.
You're based in Munich?
Oh, Berlin.
In Berlin, okay, great. And now we go over to Zagreb in Croatia, where Hrvoje Bašić is waiting for us. He's principal consultant at AppStream, the company who developed the developer portal. Hello to Zagreb.
Hello, everybody.
Let's get started with you, Angelo, and we're very interested in hearing about the history of how it happened that HbbTV launches a developer portal, because you and the Marketing Education Working Group at HbbTV have been strongly involved in this project.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Jörn. It's a really pleasure for me to be here as chair of the Marketing Education Working Group of HbbTV. We shortly call it MEWG. And I would like to say a few words about this group and the HbbTV members that dedicate time and effort in promoting Hbbtv technologies. Our most important activity are building events around Hbbtv technologies, and our webinar series and the yearly HbbTV Symposium and Awards are the focal point of our work at MEWG. As you all may know, Hbbtv technologies are standard technology that allows broadcasters and operators to build interactive services is in-house, as how to say, exploiting the penetration of compatible TV receivers to grant access to these services by their viewers. Over-the-top interactive services like video on demand, catch-up TV, TV channels via broadband, together with targeted advertising and dynamic substitution into broadcast live channel, and more specific feature technologies like operator application or OPAP, a kind of virtual set-top box embedded into your TV, and application discovery over broadband, or ADB, that is a mechanism to grant access to Hbbtv application where the broadcast application signalization is not available. These are all examples of services and features that businesses can take advantage of. Building HbbTV services from scratch, the kind of service I just mentioned, need a certain knowledge of HTML5 programming that is largely available in the market today, together with knowledge on how to interact with specific TV features and functionalities using specific APIs. And these are less known, and you have to deep dive into the HbbTV specification to gain knowledge of them. In light of that, last year, the MEWG, the Marketing Education Working Group, started a new project, the Developer Portal, the object of this webinar that was launched a few days ago and that my colleagues will present you today. It aims is to help an HbbTV service developer with a reference tool where he can find relevant and useful information to develop faster, reliable, and compelling HbbTV interactive services, even through the interaction with the HbbTV community. I would leave now the mic to my colleagues for a deep dive into the developer portal, but as a last word, I would like to invite HbbTV members to join our MEWG work. We have regular online calls, meetings, and non-HbbTV members to join the association. There are good advantages in doing that, the most relevant of which is having access to a lively group of experts and resources for your interactive business whenever you are positioned in your industry value chain. To better know our association, please have a look at our website, hbbtv.org, and I strongly suggest to join us in Prague this November, the 9th and the 10th of November, for our 10th Hbbtv Symposium and Awards, the yearly Hbbtv conference where the Hbbtv community is gathering to discuss, to have a look and enjoy the last Hbbtv new stuff. Please enjoy the following of the webinar. I leave to you, Jörn. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Angelo. And of course, if you do have questions regarding the Marketing Education Working Group of the HbbTV Association or general questions regarding the association, Angelo is the right person to talk to and ask these questions. So at the end, in the last 15 minutes, please feel free to submit your questions to Angelo. He's happy to respond. Before we move on to David, just a brief reminder, please do send your questions through the chat box and we'll respond to them regarding the developer portal at the end with our experts, and one of them is David Uhlmann from Google in Berlin. Thank you very much for joining us, and you're going to introduce us now to the new portal.
Perfect. So, hello, also again from my side. Pleasure to be here. Good to see that so many of you have joined us. So it looks like there's interest. What I'm trying to tackle now is a bit how this project started. So why did we do it, and what we are aiming to achieve with it, and a quick presentation through the website, and some final remarks on how to interact, how to use this portal if you are a developer or you want to become an HbbTV developer. So maybe quickly starting, how did this whole thing start? Well, it became a bit obvious when we as Google started to look into HbbTV that our dear engineering friends over in the US who developed Hbbtv code had, let's say, a hard time to get started. This common phrase was HbbT what? So obviously the standard wasn't that known over there in the US, so we did a lot of educational work to get them understand the potential and the opportunity HbbTV brings for linear broadcast in so many different shapes and forms. So when we started to develop, it became obvious that documentation was there but hard to find. I had this one phrase which came into my mind. One of the engineers said, David, do I really need to go through these 300 pages long PDF to figure out what this one method is doing? And I said, yeah, you're probably right. Let's see if we can do something about it. So we suggested to the marketing and education group to consider such a developer portal, as you obviously see in a lot of ecosystems out there, being operating systems on mobile or connected TVs, etc. So for a developer, it is very well. We don't have a lot of time. We try to appreciate direct access to the information, so a portal can ideally achieve this. So what we try to aim for is here the idea that we can create a central point for knowledge sharing, for learning, but also for interaction, and that is being the idea to enable some communication amongst HbbTV developers and supporting the community, which become more active and can learn from each other. So the portal, in that sense, is targeting different groups. I hope I can. I know you see my screen. It's aiming for a wide range of developers. So on one side, you have obviously beginners that are most likely web developers who understand JavaScript development, HTML5, but are new to HbbTV and want to understand the specifics about it. You probably will see also more advanced users who require access to specific documentation about a certain HbbTV API method, for instance. So when we created this portal, we thought to create these different 4 sections, tutorials, API, reference, resources, and a forum. And let me just quickly skip through them to explain a bit the idea behind it. They're a bit self-explanatory, obviously, with the name, but what's clear, we have tutorials. It's an easy getting started way or place where you can try quick sample codes, typical use cases you have in an HbbTV app. So the standard Hello World application, how you interact with remote control, how do you deal with this famous broadcast AV object, and so on. So all these tutorials are really close with to the code. They try to explain what's been done there so that you can understand quickly what is this whole thing about. We also publish all these tutorials on GitHub, so you can actually download this repository and can directly getting started. So this is hopefully a great resource for people, developers who start or are new to HbbTV and want to know how different things are done. I will talk about a bit later how we can contribute to the section, but maybe let's also raise that there is a bit more to it. So it's not only beginners. What we've seen is that with the publication of different standards or versions, it becomes quite critical to understand the different updates or the differences between these different versions. So what you here find as well are some tutorials which explain you the specific updates to a certain HbbTV version. And we also try to create a place where we call this common mistakes to avoid. So the idea behind is that there are these typical things you always stumble across when you develop a web app or an HbbTV app, and where we want to share these typical pitfalls you should avoid. So we started with just 2, but we're obviously open to receive more. We created a GitHub tracker in order to submit new issues, new ideas, new topics for this specific area. This GitHub issue tracker has also been used for other type of communication, but let me tell about this later. Okay, so this is our tutorial section. Then we do have as well an API reference. This is the compilation of all HbbTV or IPE or IPF specific methods and properties with their respective the description. This is useful when you really want to understand what a specific method is doing, the type of input parameters it requires, the output it gets, so that you can look at them and quickly find the information you're looking for. So let's take the application class, which is used to instantiate the Hbbtv application. So you can see here that we try to list all these different methods. You see their state, the type of variable it returns, and the same goes as well for methods. We also try to introduce at the beginning of each class a bit like which methods and properties should be supported within Hbbtv, as well the version from when it is available. So we have the informal version and then obviously the ETSI standard, just for completeness. So we hope that this area can be useful for all more advanced developers who maybe on a daily basis develop Hbbtv applications, and they are looking for quick access to detailed information about these specific methods. In another area we call this resources. It is something where we list to external tools, external projects related to Hbbtv, important to Hbbtv. So feel free to scroll through them if you don't know them yet, and hopefully find some useful resources for the setup or development of your apps. And last but not least, the idea of forum. So like, let's try to communicate, right? Let's not just keep the knowledge to ourselves. Let's try to share. Let's aim also for asking questions and find the answers in the community. So what we do have is a forum, which under the hood is actually, well, it's not even under the hood. It is referencing a Stack Overflow area with the Hbbtv tag. So we want to keep here or open here an area for you if you have questions, so that they can be answered directly within Stack Overflow, and you can use this place to get your questions being answered. That brings me a little bit to the last piece. So like, how do you interact? How do you contact? How do you improve this this portal? Because at the end of the day, it is a community-driven effort. So it requires the contribution of all of you, that it becomes this go-to place for Hbbtv related development information. So what we suggest is that if you have just a specific question you would like to answer because you have maybe some knowledge gap and you want to get it answered, use the Stack Overflow area to raise your question. And also, if you are a more experienced developer, feel free to contribute there with your answers and your reply. If you have questions about the portal, if you have things which should be improved, if you see mistakes, obviously as well, or you have ideas on what should be added to either the tutorial section or the resources section, then feel free to raise a ticket there. This area is being monitored, and we try to answer this as quickly as possible. For all other questions, maybe more directly, communication, there's also an email you can use to reach out to the maintainer of the this Hbbtv portal. So with that, I hope I have given you a quick overview on the Hbbtv portal, and I would like to give back the word to Jörn. Thank you.
Thank you, David, for this in-depth look at the developer portal. So we now know all about the portal, what it looks like. But of course, there's more to it, because the company developed it is a company based in Zagreb, AppStream. They're specialized in these kind of software developments. And there was a tender launched by the Hbbtv Market Initiation Working Group, which you might remember. And Upstream at the end was the company selected by the Marketing Education Working Group. So I'd like to go over to Hrvoje now in Zagreb, who's going to tell us a bit more about the development of this portal and a few bits and pieces that probably only a developer knows. Thank you, and over to you.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, hello again to everybody. As Jörn said, my name is Hrvoje Bašić, and I act as a project manager at Upstream, and we were basically the main developers on this portal application. So just before I begin with the portal, just please few minutes, allow me to say a few words about Upstream and where we come from. Upstream is a company from Zagreb, as said, Zagreb, Croatia, founded in 2016. We are sort of a gathering place for telco, broadcasting, software professional with deep understanding of technology, market potentials, and future trends. Let's say sort of our main areas of business are HbbTV application development, which is more or less the main reason we applied to the RFP to develop the HbbTV Developer Portal. We somehow felt that the team that was going to develop the portal had to include also the HbbTV experts. So we were developing the HbbTV applications for over 5 years, and we somehow considered ourselves subject matter experts. For the development of HbbTV applications, we have developed different launchers, portals, games for different customers. So we also have our AVS-based audience measurement solutions for which we see really a marketing traction. We also have a prepaid, which is our product, let's say, prepaid enabling platform for pay TV, like terrestrial cable, satellites, and so on. And of course, we developed custom software for leading Croatian enterprises. And also we have a developer outsourcing service. This is part of our business where we see real growth very fast, since we can acquire it and train software engineers with telco and industry experience. So these are some of our customers. Most of the HbbTV work we've done with a company called EVO-TV. EVO-TV is a terrestrial pay TV platform of T-Com Croatia with more than 100,000 customers. So we are also very active in the development outsourcing domain. Our developers are experts not only in HbbTV application development, but also developing software for video and multimedia domain, where our clients include the leading broadcast equipment manufacturers such as EVS. It's here, and also here are listed some of the other Croatian enterprises that we been working with. So back to that was quickly about the Upstream. So let's say now a few words about our ongoing journey with the HbbTV organization. So first, when we saw in the media there was an open RFP for implementing the HbbTV development portal, we decided we should apply, since we developed dozens of HbbTV apps for multiple customers. So we were also experienced in developing web portals for some of the leading Croatian enterprises. So we found that we had all of the, let's say, key ingredients to submit our offer. So we submitted our proposal somewhere in May, and we were selected somewhere in July. Okay, there was some processes in between, and the kickoff meeting was held in September. So since the RFP specified the required portal structure, we were able to really quickly to create our design proposal, and we did that basically in the same month. And quickly after that, we created tutorial content and submitted it for approval by the HbbTV. Well, during that time, HbbTV was very, very agile to approve the design, the content, and the collaboration was like really intense at this stage, but at the same time, really easy. At the very, very early implementation phase, we set up the test site, and that enabled us to get feedback and improve rapidly. So we were basically having the meetings on the weekly basis, discussing the look and feel, but also the content and all the stuff. And then during two meetings in 1 week, we will be able to constantly improve the whole portal. Yeah, I mean, that collaboration was, as I said, very, very, very easy and very close, and with the whole HbbTV team. And yeah, I would just like to thank each member of the team for the time that is spent and the feedback that we got from them. Well, this agile approach also enabled, as I said, continuous improvement, and the site, as it was at the beginning, our first test site, and the final result is like uncomparable. So all those feedbacks, all those meetings, all the discussion, really, I think it really turned out well. And now that we have a really portal that we can all be proud of. So the final acceptance in the end was in February this year. So what's next? I would say during the last couple of months, some tutorial source code imperfections were noticed and reported by the developer community. Once we find the best way to move forward, we will resolve those issues. We will stay present in the development, in the whole process, and we will try to improve all those things as much as possible. There was also multiple updates to tutorial resources, and we expect to continue updating those sections as well. API references asked for future improvements, also ability to deep link the class methods and properties, and all those stuff in the following months we will again put on the table, on the, let's say, whiteboard, discuss again with all the team members, and then do the improvements and maybe some new development. Okay, of course, we are always open to suggestions from the development community, and so maybe in the future something new will come, and then we'll discuss that as well. So for any kind of question you might have, so we are here. Thank you all for participating once again and for listening. You can put a question in the chat or directly, whatever you like. Jörn? We cannot hear you.
Okay, now you can hear me.
Yeah.
Sorry for the mix-up. So thank you, Hrvoje, for this great insight into the developer side of the portal and the way this has been set up. And I think it's been quite interesting to see that this isn't sort of, there's been an RFP, you develop something, and then that's it. It's more like an ongoing, evolving project. I think that's quite interesting to see, and it's kind of based very much on the interaction between the HbbTV Association and their experts, and of course your team. And of course, it hasn't just been you. You had a few other team members being involved at Upstream for this, and I think it's also quite interesting to see that you have so much experience in developing HbbTV apps in the past, you said, I think 5 years, developing a dozen apps. And I think this is really a challenge for everyone who hasn't done this, because otherwise you're probably having a hard time developing a portal, explaining things to beginners if you haven't had the experience in how to program HbbTV applications and services yourself. Do you think that's been a great help in this project?
Yes, definitely. I don't know how we would do it if we weren't developing those applications, had this deep insight knowledge of the applications. If it's just some company without experience, I mean, it's not just the portal development, actually, the content and all the processes behind the Hbbtv development. It's not the same when you just take it for somebody else, or the exact, the things, and then you can maybe, somehow put it close to the future developers.
Again, a reminder to everyone, please send us your questions through the chat box if you want to know anything regarding the portal or the HbbTV Association, or especially, of course, the Marketing Education Working Group. That's for Angelo, and for the app, that is for the developer portal and associated things, that's for David and Hrvoje. While we're waiting for questions to come in, there was one thing I'd personally be interested in, because when you start such a project, you're being selected in the RFP. What are the first things you start doing, and what were, in the process of developing the portal, the challenges that you had to meet?
Well, I mean, the first thing we did is actually we gathered all the information, the manuals, the code, and we wanted to see what we will put onto the portal. And in parallel, we also started the actual look and feel of the portal. And I think the biggest challenge was actually how to present it nicely, so that it's not just blocks of code and Q&As, but it's somehow that when somebody lands on the page, on the portal, that actually wants to dig deeper. So with every new information that he gets, that he starts search for similar things, for different things, for more and more and more. And that's why I also mentioned that some of the future improvements that we would like to also, that we also think it would be quite nice to have, is that you have, that most of everything is linked, so that you don't have to search, that you just click on the classes, that you click on that it guides you to the example, and so on and so on. So that it's really interactive and not just page with information. So.
Yeah, as you were saying, the presentation is important, because of course you could argue that all the information, or most of it that's on the portal, has already been available on the main HbbTV side. But as David was explaining, I mean, you're kind of up in the air with 300 pages of documents, and you don't know where to get started with all these Etsy documents and standards and specifications and updates and upgrades and new versions. Where do you start as a beginner? So I think it was quite a crucial point, that the thought was, how do we guide the beginners with some sort of an introduction to the topic? People in the software community, developer community, who've never had any experience with programming HbbTV applications and services. And I think it's just too much if they go to the main HbbTV site, the resources section, and then you just hit with all this information all at once.
Yeah, correct.
So a part of the idea, but David, please correct me if that is not right, was to have an introductory guide to beginners, and kind of navigate them through this overwhelming jungle that's available in information on regarding HbbTV. And then once you are kind of a more advanced user, you're of course more than welcome to take a look at the regular HbbTV site, where there's lots more documentation and details available. Was that the thought, David? We can't hear you. Can you unmute, David? You're muted, I think.
Okay, I couldn't unmute
No, it's
myself.
working.
Sorry
Okay.
for that.
Yeah, I had the
okay.
same problem. Okay.
Of course, I mean, the thing is really, when you start developing HbbTV apps, it's not about that you do not know programming. I would assume that anyone looking into HbbTV, they have certain understanding of developing web apps. So it is not about teaching people how to program. It's more about how you start with bridging this broadband broadcast piece here, which is this unique thing of HbbTV, which makes it really interesting, really attractive, also from a developer perspective to play with. But when you start, it's hard to find one place where you go. And you find here and there tutorials, you find here and there test suites, you find some code which is maybe not really up to date any longer. So like getting one place, and in that sense, actually democratize access to this information is the overall goal. And then from there to say, okay, now you're using it, you're over this initial level, you will always face new issues when you develop HbbTV apps. I don't think I'm telling you anything new. And if this portal can provide them even further a way of communicating with others who have faced similar issues. So the overall idea, actually creating or supporting a developer community, if we could achieve something like that, that would be like the idealistic goal of this portal, as I would describe it.
Okay. Just coming back to you, Hrvoje, regarding the development of the portal. We heard about the first ideas, the structure you gave with the design. Of course, it was always done in close interaction with the group members of the Marketing Education Working Group at the HbbTV Association. And but then again, when we were left, there were always bi-weekly calls, as you indicated in your presentation. We were left back alone. What were kind of the challenges, or in other words, what were the things you learned while developing this portal? There must have been some sort of things that you perhaps didn't expect, and you were then thinking like, okay, that is something quite a challenge, but I've solved it. Was there things like that?
So yeah, okay. I mentioned actually one thing that is one thing that we haven't foreseen at that time. That actually we cannot just take the documentation, and actually David was the one who pointed that out. So we can just take the documentation and put it in the same form as an official specification, and when you want to translate it into interactive web, there is a lot more to do than just put it as a text. So we needed somehow to achieve this interactivity in all that context. So I think that was the most challenging part, because there are a lot of text and a lot of examples and so on. And so if you just put it just like that on the web, it wouldn't. We thought that it's not the real meaning of that portal. So.
Yeah, I can understand. I think it's not really making use of the idea behind the portal. If you just put information from the HbbTV website onto a new website and have a sticker labeled developer portal on it, and then that's not.
Yeah.
That's not the right idea probably, and not using the potential, and it's the real idea that was behind it. I think, as you were saying, the transformation is the important bit of getting the right approach to the information and documentation that's already there, guiding people through it. And as a journalist, as we all know, the most important thing is not what you write, it's what you don't write, because you don't want to waste people's time. and I think it's a bit the same in the concept of the developer portal. You need to have a very structured and a very focused approach to what to include and what not to include. David, can you confirm that that was kind of the approach you took?
Yeah, I mean, and also target, know who's your reader. Okay.
Yep.
I mean, it's obviously not the same if you write for the beginner or if you write for a more advanced person. So I think having that in mind definitely helps them when you use the portal.
I was just mentioning earlier on the interaction that was between the upstream team and the marketing working group. Angelo, perhaps you can elaborate a little bit on the way that this portal was created through interaction, through feedback, and the experts of the HbbTV Association involved in this.
Yep. Yes. That was a good and interesting project to develop, and the marketing dedicated quite a good amount of time in that. And I would say that even the other group inside Hbbtv, especially the improve interoperability task force, that is the group that is in charge of trying to understand the issues of interoperabilities and trying to find solution to that, even maybe going back to review the specification themselves. We got a lot of feedback from them, and in fact there are a few. There is a section that David mentioned, that is the avoid mistakes section into the tutorial, I think. That is something that came up from the discussion with the interoperability task force. And we think that the portal is something that could really be the right or the good place where developers could find even solution to these issues. So internally we discussed that, and together with upstream we managed to find the right way to build it up and to improve the portal. The portal is something alive. It's not finished. It is important to build a strong community because without the contribution to the developers and the community of the HbbTV community, it is not going to work, because it has to be maintained, and the best can only come from the developer themselves, because they are the guys that they develop things, and they have to solve issues, and they have the chance here to ask the community to find solution to their own issues. I think that this is the most challenging in terms of for the HbbTV Association, for us as MEWG, trying to maintain and to foster a good and improving community. This is key for the success, and the following year and financing following year of this initiative, of this developer portal. This is the key challenge we are facing, all of us, we as MEWG and the community itself.
Yeah, I think somebody once said, when your project is finished, it's dead. So this portal lives off the interactivity from the developer community, as Angelo just said, and showing the portal on the screen now. There are various forms and levels on which interaction is possible. If you see the Contact Us button, that will navigate you through the ways of interaction regarding the developer communities, and you can participate there if you have questions. But of course, if you have if you can resolve certain issues from your experience, you're more than happy to respond, of course, to the feedback. And of course, if you have questions regarding the portal itself, perhaps ways to improve it, to change it, if you find something where you think this could be phrased in a better way, in a more simple way or something like that. As I said, the project, the whole developer portal is an evolving project, and AppStream, of course, continues to offer its support in an ongoing way. And so please feel free to use one of the ways to contact the appropriate people to issue your support or your contributions. And this is also a message to all of you who maybe now get more interested in this portal. It's alive and it can be used to interact. So please make use of all these opportunities. And of course, the Market Education Working Group and the AppStream team, and of course, all the members of the developer portal, I'm sure are really happy to respond to your concerns and your ideas. I think we're at the end of the Q&A. And I'd like to use this opportunity to thank you all for your great interest in this webinar. I'd like to thank, of course, our speakers for their contributions. And as usual, the presentation, in this case, we only had a presentation from Hrvoje, will be shared with all of you as a PDF download. And this will be sent to you by email since you registered. And of course, you will, as usual, also be invited to join the next webinar sessions. Let me quickly show you the next session. Here we go. It is on Ultra HD and 4K. So we're going to discuss ways of how to integrate UHD and 4K services in Hbbtv applications. And this is quite an interesting thing, which has been going on for several years now. And of course, broadcasters like ARD, BBC, and ZDF have been making use of these opportunities, and we're very happy to have speakers from these broadcasters with us. Klaus Merkel from RBB, that's a German ARD broadcast affiliate for the Berlin and Brandenburg region. Steve Parrott from the BBC R&D. And we have a representative from ZDF and from a service provider called Unified Streaming, all of them confirmed. So please already add the date to your calendar. If you're interested in this topic, April the 26th at usual time between 3 and 4 in the afternoon. And Angelo already mentioned the next big event coming up, that is the HbbTV Symposium and Awards. It's the anniversary edition, number 10, taking place in Prague in the Czech Republic on November the 9th and 10th. A great event supported by the HbbTV Association and the local Czech Commercial TV Association, HbbTV. The process is running for selecting a great venue, and you will, of course, be informed in the coming months about the development of this conference. If you're interested in submitting ideas for webinar topics, you're of course very welcome to submit them by email to webinar@hbbtv.org. And please also follow the Hbbtv Association so you're constantly informed about Hbbtv news and invitations to events on Twitter and on LinkedIn. Thank you again for taking the time to join our webinar today. There'll be a recording on YouTube on the Hbbtv Association's YouTube channel. And I'd also like to invite you, as usual, to take part in a brief survey that will open up when this webinar closes, so you can tell us your views on this session. Thank you very much. Take care. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.